Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 502. I am Brendan. All right, this is going to be UFC Fight Night. This is Vegas 109, Dolidze versus Hernandez. Absolute blowout in the main event. Absolute blowout. Fun to watch. Lots of skill involved there. Just total one-way traffic. But there was lots of finishes, both on the prelims and the main card. We're going to talk about the main card here, go through each fight, talk about it. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. The next video is coming out, and I really appreciate it. Let's get into the fights. Holy moly. Anthony Hernandez just put on a clinic on, how to beat Dolidze, right? Everybody plays into the Dolidze game, slows down the pace, allows him to carry himself because he does have power, and he carries that power very late, especially when, he's not pushed. But we've seen him, let's see. He's got that loss to Marvin Vettori. Oh, that weird win against Marvin Vettori. Anyway, we've seen him lose in convincing fashion, but nothing this convincing. This is ridiculous. Hernandez usually able to. I wrote this down. I was like, he's usually able to out cardio guys, and Dolidze is not known for his cardio. So let's see how this turns out. Hernandez landing the jab. Dolidze sitting down and wanting to pull guard. Hernandez lets him up. He did that multiple times. Anytime Dolidze would move into some sort of leg entanglement or roll to his back, for the most part, right? I can't remember exactly how many times off the top of my head how many times it happened, but I would say all but one or two times when Dolidze went to his back, Hernandez just let him stand back up. Dolidze was landing more low kicks early on than Hernandez, but Hernandez was landing them with more authority. If you look at the low kicks in this first round, it's 5-7 in favor of Hernandez, but that was because later on Hernandez really started to pick it up. Hernandez just keeps the pressure on. Dolidze swinging big, and you could tell early on that unless Dolidze connected with something huge, Hernandez was just gonna keep it going. He was just going to be able to break him, and that's exactly what we saw. Hernandez was already backing up, getting the takedown. Dolidze attacks the legs to get back up. Hernandez lands some really deep low kicks, a right hand, a takedown, lets him up yet again. Numbers might be in the favor of Dolidze for this first round. I thought maybe Dolidze outlanded him, but clearly he didn't. Hernandez outlanded him, outdamaged him, outcontrolled him, outdid everything. Clearly a 10-9. Second round, the pressure makes Dolidze look lost. He's just throwing elbows and sloppy hooks. Those elbows weren't too bad, but the hooks are sloppy. He looks like just does not look like a UFC fighter. Just put it that way, right? Like his striking ability, especially when he's tired, just does not. He's just a tough dude. Right, he can take a punch and he can hit hard, and his striking ability, it was on full display here. Just how bad it was. Hernandez was in his face, yelling at him. Dolidze says, "Let's go," as he's backing up, and then grabs the fence for the first time to stop the takedown. Dolidze turning his back and literally running away from him. Hernandez rolls over and goes guillotine. Again, gets to the hip ride, landing some good ground and pound, just beating the piss out of him. Outlanded him 44-20 for striking numbers in the second round. I gave it a 10-9, but you could give this one a 10-8 as well. I gave this a 10-9, 20-18. Third round, Hernandez stays low on the hips to stop Dolidze from rolling under, right? So normally when guys go take the back, they throw the hooks in, right? They throw their legs over, right? And then they throw their hooks in between the legs of their opponent. He wasn't doing that. He was staying back on the hips, just keeping the body lock on the hips because Dolidze wanted to roll. You'll do that. For those of you guys out there who have grappled before, you notice like guys who invert a lot, right? Mostly smaller guys, but some bigger guys like Dolidze do invert. And every time they try to roll under, if you just sit back and hold their hips, they can't go anywhere. And you could see that Dolidze just hit like a brain fart, and he was like, I don't know what to do. Normally, everybody, like I'm able to do this to everyone. Dolidze grabs the fence to stop the takedown, then again to defend the cradle, but he doesn't get punished. That's 3 times he grabbed the fence. Hernandez punishing him the whole round, doing damage on the feet, forcing him to stand up when he gets him down. And then Hernandez gets an arm triangle standing takedown. Beautiful stuff. 18-4 for striking numbers. I gave him a 10-8 for this round. I felt like it was more dominant, and it was the differential, right? Because in the previous round it was 44-20. So Dolidze did land a few shots in the second round. The third round felt like he landed nothing. Apparently landed 4, but he really didn't land anything of significance. So I had it 30-26. And then last round, good God, Dolidze wants no part of this. Grabs the fence. Herb Dean takes a point mid-transition, doesn't stop it, and then Hernandez chokes him from behind. It was a rear naked choke finish, sort of, but he really just, like, standing up, rear naked choked him and dragged him across the mat and got the finish. Fantastic stuff. Dolidze did not want to be in there anymore, and Hernandez is calling for a title shot. I mean, looking at the rankings here, I think they were 10-9. They were. So, you can't get... I mean, you could give him the title shot, depending on how the schedule lines up, being that yeah. I mean, him versus Chimaev would be interesting. Him versus Duplessis would be interesting. But more importantly, his schedule lines up really well with these guys. Renier de Ridder is on a hot streak, but he should fight Imavov. Imavov could be... Yeah, I don't think Hernandez can jump the line just yet. But, like I said, this is not a video game. This is, real human beings, real scheduling, or an actual human, like the Gregorian calendar we have to deal with here. This is not just like press start to advance to next matchup. Like, we have to take into account training, time off, any sort of suspension that they get, medical suspension, right? Any sort of medical suspensions they get. So all of these things, like, in flux. I wouldn't be upset if they gave Hernandez a title shot. That being said, I would prefer if they didn't yet. Let's get him a matchup in the top 5, or another guy in the top 10. That'd be fine. And then for sure, right after that, if he gets a win. But great fight from him, great performance. Looking at the scorecards here, Chris Lee gave that second round a 10-8, which was interesting. That only he did it. All right. Steve Erceg taking on Odie Osbourne. This is essentially just a tale of 2 rounds or 3 rounds here. What? They don't have the scorecards for this? What is going on? God, this drives me bananas. I was having a hell of a time trying to find the damn official scorecards anyway. Ugh. Sorry, guys. I can't find them. You know what? Hold on. Let's see. Maybe they're on... Let's talk about the fight first, and then we'll get to it. We'll get back to it. Osbourne was landing that 1-2 counter as Erceg's trying to walk in. Osbourne did his best work when he was countering. Dominic Cruz kept saying he wanted him to lead as the fight went on, but I'm telling you, every time he led, Erceg was able to find the timing and find the range. Osbourne lands a big right-hand counter, staggers Erceg, who's forced to wrestle. Osbourne gets the back. Erceg escapes, gets Osbourne back with 45 seconds left. Clearly Osbourne's round. It's only a 10-9, but you could see that Osbourne was, had a speed advantage, but seemed like Erceg would be able to navigate that stuff. And as the fight went on, that's kind of what we saw. Boy, those striking numbers are so close. 17-3 in favor of Osbourne in this first round. Erceg trying to land that right hand. Osbourne finding the combos faster. That's the problem. When Erceg was leading, right, Osbourne would be able to counter him because he's so fast. He was able to land some nice counters. Erceg was not able to get the takedown, and not a ton of offense in this round from either guy. Right, only 12-11 for the significant strike numbers in favor of Osbourne. Close round, but I felt like Erceg landed the better shots when he made Osbourne lead. Early on, Osbourne landed pretty well. really close damage, might be even as far as damage goes. If you look at total attempted strikes, 25 to 25, this was dead even across the board. So you got to go to a secondary scoring criteria, and Erceg controlled the octagon more. And I know that seems stupid, but he was the one pressing forward. He was the one with more control time. That's what it came down to. So I gave it to him 10-9, 19-19, but it was a really close round. But, 19-19 going into the last round here. And then Osbourne still doing better on the counter, but when he lands, Erceg slips and counters. So now even when Osbourne is finding those counters, oh, sorry, no, my bad. Like I said, when he's leading, Erceg slips and counters. So Erceg gets a takedown with 2:45 left. Erceg getting to the mount clean, a nice back take with the body triangle. Osbourne fights up, and Erceg gets the front headlock inside trip to get him back down again. Probably saved him this round. Erceg ends the round with a neck crank, some nasty ground and pound. The significant strikes were dead even, 6-6, but there was a big difference when it came to damage. Erceg clearly did more damage this round and had way more control, so clearly his round, in my opinion. Let's see if we can't find a scorecard here for these two. Nope, they didn't post the scorecard. This is the same problem that we had. All right, that's what I was looking for, and it's nowhere. Like, it's not on the UFC website. It's not on MMA Junkie. It's not even on their damn Twitter or X. Iasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill. Not the most entertaining fight. It really wasn't. Lucindo on the body lock, looking to get her down early, working really hard, forcing her to the front headlock. Hill forced her to the front headlock, got that counter going, but just not a lot of damage. Hill was landing some knees in the clinch, a step and elbow. Hill was staying in the pocket too long, keeping her head up, and Lucindo was catching her on the break. She was catching with that left hook. Looking at the striking numbers here, they're really close, 27 to 25 in favor of Lucindo, but she was landing with bigger shots. Hill should have been able to pick her shots, stay on the outside, and, in my opinion, attack that lead leg more. I felt like that was there all day for her. First round, for sure, 10-9 to Lucindo. Second round, Lucindo ties up. Hill jumps to standing guillotine, landing some good knees with the front headlock. But Hill just cannot trade and win on points. She can't, right? The striking numbers were in favor of Hill this round, 31 to 28, but she just did not do enough damage. Those leg kicks were there for her all day. She really needed to throw those out there. I think that could have made a bigger difference. It's 20 to 18 for Lucindo. And then this last round, Lucindo gets a takedown, holds her down. Doesn't really do too much with it. It was mainly just positional fighting. Not the most interesting to watch. It sucks for Hill. I was hoping for maybe she could still get it going, a late career resurgence. Andre Fili versus Christian Rodriguez. This one sucked as far as the decision goes. Rodriguez was crowding him with the pressure, keeping that offense, forcing Fili to react and trying to fight his way off the fence. Fili was catching him on the way in. He's able to hold that center more. Fili needs to use those long kicks much more than he was. He landed a decent amount of them. He landed some of them early on, but Rodriguez was outlanding him to the legs, 12-2 for leg kicks. Rodriguez was really having an issue getting into range. He does get a takedown to end the round, but I feel like Fili did way more damage. Now, if you look at the striking numbers here, Rodriguez led in every single round, really. 29 to 22. The way they were talking about Fili, it just seemed like he wasn't doing anything. But I gave that first round to Fili, 10-9. Second round, Rodriguez has found a little success, but then back to not being able to really manage range properly. It kind of got back to that issue. Rodriguez found, close round again. It just doesn't feel like Rodriguez had enough impact, in my opinion. So I had it 20 to 18. This is so weird. Yeah, I don't know why I feel like. Anyway, last round. Rodriguez a little more reckless with the pressure and output, so Fili gets a takedown. Rodriguez with a huge elbow shakes Fili. Fili gets another takedown. Rodriguez did way more damage in this last round, but I doubt he'll get it because he was controlled on the ground. So I figured he would lose the last round, even on the scorecards. But I got to look at this. I got to look at it here. I gave it to Fili, 29-28. So let's see how they scored it. Okay, so Eric Colon gave the last round to Rodriguez. Makes sense. Chris Lee gave the second and last round to Rodriguez. Not horrible. And then Anthony Manis gave all 3 rounds to Fili. You know, I was kind of ready to get all upset about that, but I feel like that might be okay. Looking at the notes and the way that I went through it, that might not be the worst thing. That being said, let's talk about a fight that was horribly commentated, in my opinion, and also judged poorly. Miles Johns versus John Matsumoto. This one was bad. Yeah, this decision was bad. There's very little. I don't know how you. Let's talk about it. Matsumoto landing low kicks and body and to the body. Johns finding that the mark with that overhand right. He wasn't landing with too much emphasis early, but he was finding the mark with it. Johns ducks under, gets a double leg slam. Matsumoto goes guillotine. Johns just waits it out. Johns is countering the low kicks with the 3-2, right? That lead hook and then the straight left. He's doing a good job with it. Matsumoto lands, but Johns is landing harder, and Matsumoto is failing on a takedown, right? Matsumoto might have more numbers, but I gave the damage to Johns in this first round, right? He outlanded him here 22-16, out-damaged him for sure. It's like you give Johns that first round, 10-9. Second round here, Johns going to the body with the hooks, Matsumoto keeping constant offense with those kicks and knees to the body. How can the commentary look at the stats and see that they are dead even and then say that Matsumoto's landing more? This was so bad. The way that they were just talking about Matsumoto, like everything was going to his plan. First of all, he lost that first round. Second of all, this second round was dead even. Makes no sense, right? Anyway, real close round. The difference maker was the pressure. Damage, I had the damage almost even in the second round, so Matsumoto actually gets the nod for me. 35-34 striking numbers. Like I said, really freaking close. So 19-19. Last round. Johns is pressuring in, and Matsumoto lands a low kick. Johns is staying in there, landing much more. All this talk about how Matsumoto is landing more, and he's losing this round, right? I don't know how they have 44 strikes to the body and to the legs. I don't think so. Go back and watch this one again. Johns did more than enough, and Cruz won't shut up about how Matsumoto did. I had a 29-28 for Johns. And then looking at the scorecards, this was a shit show. This was a shit show. Okay? For a lot of reasons. Looking at this first round, Saul D'Amato and Mike Bell gave it to Miles Johns. That's fine. That's correct. That's the only logical way you can look at that one. Ben Cartledge gave the first round to Matsumoto. That makes no fucking sense. Second round. It was a closer round, right? But you probably give it to Matsumoto. Right? That makes sense. Okay, cool. So Mike Bell, Saul D'Amato gave it to him. Ben Cartledge gave that second round to Miles Johns. Now, I don't inherently have a problem with him getting that second round. What I have a problem with is, why would you give Matsumoto the first round, and then when Matsumoto performs worse relatively to Johns in the second round, that's when you give Johns the second, when he performs better, you would give his opponent the second round, right? From his point of view, Johns did worse in the first round compared to Matsumoto than he did in the second round, but the second round was close. The first round wasn't. How do you justify that? And then the last round, Cartledge gives to Johns. Now, that one I agree with, but it's not a foregone conclusion. Anyway, the scorecards were all over. Like, Ben Cartledge's scorecard was dog shit. The fact that nobody gave Johns that last round except for Cartledge also is dog shit. Like, it's just ridiculous. Are you serious? They don't have the next scorecard either? Luckily, we don't need it. This is ridiculous. Eryk Anders versus Christian Leroy Duncan. This fight did not go the distance. Duncan pokes him right away in the eye. Duncan's so fast with the kicks and spinning back fist. And then Duncan kicks him in the cup. Nice 2 fouls. They have a little laugh about it, how you can commit one of each type of foul. So all he needs to do is grab the fence and he gets all the big 3, as we'll call it. Duncan with the flying knee, landing a right hand. Anders shoots, slams him down. But Anders wasn't able to do anything to get back up. Duncan lands a spinning elbow, follows up, and just fucking cracks him. Great finish for him. Looked really good. That's what I'm hoping for going forward from Leroy Duncan. I really like those exciting striking fights. The way he just puts pressure on, I love that stuff. The technical stuff is fun to watch too. I don't have a problem with it, but this is what I'm hoping for. Anyway, that's it for the main card. Thank you guys for stopping by. It means a lot to me. The weird scoring wasn't the most exciting. Like, honestly, who was really amped up for this, knowing that we have the pay-per-view next weekend? How many people were going out of the way to watch this one? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of thing. That way, next video is coming out. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have an amazing week. Peace. Love y'all.